Okay, so today we're going to have a look at the definition of biohacking. So what is biohacking? Now, this is a term that actually has a lot of different meanings right now. It's being used in a lot of different contexts, so I'm just going to try and break that down a little bit. If you type biohacking into Google, you will get the following. Biohacking, also known as DIY biology, is an extremely broad and amorphous term that can cover a huge range of activities, from performing science experiments on yeast or other organisms to tracking your own sleep and diet, to changing your own biology by pumping a younger person's blood into your veins, and this goes off onto something totally irrelevant. So yeah, by that definition, I mean even having like a fitness tracker or fitness apps or anything that's monitoring performance levels. I've even heard somebody talking about the science of their caffeine intake, how they monitor the amount of coffees they take, how often they drink them to try and maximize their performance. I'm not sure I agree with that falling under the term of biohacking. I mean, you're just drinking coffee, like you probably had too much. Let's have another definition on Wikipedia. So this is also quite vague. You type biohacking in on Wikipedia. It breaks it down into different sections with suggestions of nootropics, which are like drugs, supplements and other things, self-experimentation in medicine, the quantified self measuring various biomarkers and behaviors to try and optimize health. So again, fitness trackers, do-it-yourself biology, the movement in which individuals and small organizations study biology. Okay, but then surely that's just biology, right? That's just studying biology. I'm not sure how this falls under the category of biohacking. And then it comes up with something that Wikipedia has labeled as body hacking, the application of the hacker ethic to improve one's own body, which bizarrely enough is actually closer to what we're actually going to be talking about here. So let's just look into that. Body hacking is the application of the hacker ethic, often in combination with a high risk tolerance, in pursuit of enhancement or change to the body's functions through technological means such as do-it-yourself cybernetic devices or by introducing biochemicals. And underneath that is a section on grinders, which I'm not going to go into in this episode because I have some different definitions for grinders and biohackers. It's interesting that I don't know whether this is a slight Americanism or whether this is so new that it just hasn't been really defined particularly well yet. But to me, body hacking sounds like something that should be in a very different podcast. That sounds like some true crime serial killer stuff. It just doesn't sound relevant to what I do. But as you go on to read the description and the information on this page, it is actually to do with biohacking. They've just called it body hacking for some reason. It goes on to talk about the ideology, which I'm going to talk about at a later date. Because, as well as, with grinding. So many grinders identify with the biopunk movement, open source transhumanism, and techno-progressivism. That's a lot of new words for you, and we're going to talk about those three topics in different episodes. I will say that as I scroll down this page, there's a section on notable people. And there's only about a dozen people in this list. And I'm not one of them. Now, I don't know how many of these people put themselves in this list, but at some point I might have to suggest an edit to Wikipedia for this. I know almost everyone on this list. I've worked with some of these people. I've been on TV with some of these people. I've been on stage with some of these people, and I am not on this list. I'm slightly... I'm trying very hard not to be offended. I'm just going to put my own name on it. That's fine. Okay, so back to, so what is it that I think is the definition of biohacking, or at least how does it relate to what I do for my job? So this is just on my website now, on the main biohacking page. Biohacking, augmenting the human body using implantable technology to control bodily functionality or to enable easier interaction with the world around us. So a lot of my work is implanting microchips and magnets, none of which is to do with controlling bodily functionality, but for me that is what I consider to be part of the definitive definition for biohacking. So that's why that's in there for me. I do the bit that's enabling easier interaction with the world around us. So it's a lot of just NFC interaction, but we'll get onto that much later. That's a very different episode. So as you can see, this term is being used for a lot of different things right now. There's not much clarity on there. It seems to get worse the more you search it. It goes into all sorts of experimental substances and nootropics, and none of that has anything to do with what I do. Very little of that will be anything to do with what I speak about on this podcast. We are mostly looking at implantable devices, anything that might be used in the future for, let's say, digital IDs, and just the functionality of this. So for me, biohacking as a definition is the implantable technology to interact with the world around you. So I hope that gives you a little bit of clarity, as much as the definitions for this are currently quite vague, but that should give you some clarity on what I do in my job and how biohacking has been made available to the public, as in how you can be biohacked or have implants that you can then use for NFC functionality. But we're going to come onto that in a different episode. Awesome. Thanks for tuning in. Any other questions, send them to me on the Discord server, or you can drop them in the comments on the YouTube channel, depending on how you're watching this. Thanks, guys. Next question.